Hello, my loves. This is Dee. I'm back with another audio. I did promise that I was gonna come back and talk about this really interesting, crazy, divine, and ordained alignment that I feel like that is happening in the sky right now, and I feel like it wasn't my heart to come and talk about it because I feel like there was so much coming to me when I sat down with it, when I sat with the chart, when I wanted to receive whatever download message and understanding of what is happening behind the scene, what is happening in our psyche, what is affecting us as a whole, as people living in the planet Gaia. The planet is feminine. It is the feminine principle, and I could not talk about what's going on right now. So, what I'm talking about is the stellium that is happening in Libra right now. So, as you all know, we have the North Node that is in Aries, and currently at 7 degrees of Aries, which means the South Node is now on the opposite end in Libra, at 7 degrees as well. And what makes this whole thing beautiful is because we already see a dynamic of the masculine and the feminine principle and the masculine principle, and it gets even more interesting, you guys. So bear with me. I didn't want this episode to be too scholarly, so I'm gonna try to make it not too information giving, but kind of like more tapping into the energies and the essence of what's going on for us. So in Libra right now, we have the South Node that is at 7 degrees of Libra. We have the conjunction with Lilith that is 7 degrees of Libra, followed up closely by Venus that is 8 degrees of Libra. And then we have Juno that is 9 degrees of Libra. All this happening right now. The conjunction is exact today on September 5th of 2024. And what makes this even more interesting, the moon is actually transiting Libra right now as well. And it's just this massive energy that we all affected by, right? And some of us is subtle. For someone like me who's really tapped into the energies of the world and what goes on in the sky, I feel it all. And I feel like my body and my essence become just one more flavor through which this gets to dissipate. And you know I'm about that life, and I really like that sort of thing, and that's why we're here. So the North Node, first of all, represent the direction of the new. It's the point forward. It's the north on the compass of life. This is the direction you're supposed to go, and that is right now in Aries, which is it's ruled by Mars. That you could already see this is the masculine. And then we have the South Node that is in Libra right now. The South Node is the point of exit. That is the vacuum that is suctioning out all that is no longer necessary, all that is that no longer serve, things that are of the past, things that are no longer relevant. And on the grand scale of things, and the grand scheme of things, since we do have Pluto that is in the process of switching from Capricorn to Aquarius, and it's in retrograde right now, you guys, and it's just deep back into Capricorn. But the whole point of it is like Pluto is trying to get back and stay long term for like 20 something years in Aquarius, and that is said to be the anchoring of the energy of the Aquarian age. So we are changing age, okay? And aspects of the feminine, and I'm talking about not in general as in divine feminine or whatever, it's pretty much different archetypal faces of the goddess. Because if you would say, you know, Gaia within itself, which is the planet Earth, which is the quintessential ideology of what the, I would say, the feminine or the goddess is supposed to be all encompassing of. I don't know if I'm saying this right. But within that Gaia, you see different animals, you see people, you see different gender, you see different trees, different well, you see nuances, right? You see different race, you see different ideologies. So the goddess or the planet is diverse, and because of that, we all have different faces, we all have nuances, and we all embody different aspects of it. And if you are born in this lifetime female, okay, so whatever your chart is in the moment of birth, then you are cast. Your energy is cast and is a map of whatever representation of that energy that you're supposed to be, and its multiplicity. I hope this doesn't get too I want to keep this as understandable as possible. But I'm also channeling, so sometimes it just comes the way it comes and I just have to go with it. Anyway, so Libra and astrology altogether represent well, where our Aries is the first sign, Libra is the seventh sign, where Aries is doing something alone. The Aries little goat who's just going to go head first into everything and anything, not really thinking about 10 steps ahead. I'm the initiator, I'm the youth, the baby of the zodiac. I'm supposed to go at it and make some mistakes. Keep that in mind, because that's the masculine, right? Supposed to do that and supposed to go through that journey through the 12 sign to become wise, right? And Libra, which is ruled by Venus, by the way, is representing of the opposite of Aries. That is that is the energy of partnership. That is the energy of relationship. That is, and if you're doing partnership and relationship, then you get a sense of diplomacy, right? And being the seventh, of the sign, you're somewhere split in the middle here, and you're like the peacekeeper, which brings me to the archetype of Justicia. That is one face of the goddess, right? So we have, even right now in the, I think some kind of federal court, where we have the Lady of Justice depicted there, and I'll be posting a picture, inserting a picture, and see if that would help kind of like have a kind of visual of what I'm talking about. Even that, Libra being the representation of balance and scale, it's justice is supposed to be the person to kind of keep things rotating just right, and so keeping things fair. And we all know in life, I mean, is everything ever fair? So that was a setup to begin with. And it's funny that task was given to the feminine. Okay? And also you could see how the many ways that the feminine has been bending to kind of fit that whatever expression of justice or of balance that it's meant to represent. Because if you look at the farthest, the oldest picture of the Lady of Justice and Justicia, you will see that it's a woman holding a sword, holding the sword upright, and also in one hand, and holding the balance in the other hand, the scale in the other hand. And then as you go down the years, then you see, okay, the sword is pointing downward, and now she is blindfolded, and then the scale is still being held up. I guess at some point, the masculine decided, well, that was maybe too threatening, and since, it's like the dent, whatever. And then at some point, you could see the changes, and then you become this dainty little thing that looks powerless, really, holding a sword. And some of the pictures down the road didn't have the sword at all. It's just a dainty looking feminine woman, holding a little scale. Look like, if the wind blows too hard, it's going to blow the poor woman out and dust her into the wind. Maybe that's as much of power that the masculine could handle from a feminine. That is, that's kind of what I could come up with as far as me in my own opinion. And that doesn't mean I'm right, it's an opinion. Anyway, so moving on from that, you see in general, if you look that up, Libra is associated with different goddesses. There's, of course, Justitia. There is Astrea, which is also another aspect of Lady of Justice. And it's supposed to be, the mythology goes that Astrea was living on earth as maintaining balance of positive and negative, and then at some point the masculine domination took over, and then there was a lot of lawlessness happening, and she's like, okay, well, she didn't feel like she had a place there, and she's gone. That's the mythology anyway. And then we have Athena, who is also Minerva. Depending if you're looking at the Roman mythology or Greek mythology, those two are the same. Okay, Athena and Minerva are actually the same. That's the goddess of wisdom, of strategy, of warfare. And then we have also, of course, Libra is ruled by Venus, and we all know a whole lot about Venus, right? So do you see different archetypes happening all at once within that? That's just all within the Libra itself. Okay, so, and that's just a sign. Now, to add on to the fact that we have the first conjunction that happened, that is, well, whatever is closest, the one closest to the south node right now, who is literally sitting on that vacuum suctioning out, is Lilith. And the story of Lilith goes that it was the first wife of Adam, and it was requested, demanded of her to give away her power and to subjugate, or to being submit to Adam sexually, because he was like, well, I'm like, whatever, I need to be on top, or whatever the case may be. And that was like, no, I mean, seriously, this planet, like, I'm pretty much the energy of the planet. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna role change or whatever, but nothing says that I'm supposed to be at the bottom all the time, and I'm not down with that. And what did she do? She bailed. Okay, and I'm gonna get to the positive and negative of that as well, because we all know what happened later on. Lilith and that archetypal scenery was made to be like an energy of the feminine when it's acting up, when it's derailed to the wild side, and anger. Okay, but if you look at it, however empowering her decision was, I wouldn't say the handling of things was the actual, best way to go about it. But hey, who am I? Those are archetypal things. Those are energies and entities, and they have their own mind and their own will. To close to Lilith, then we see Venus. Venus is at 8 degrees close to the south node, is going to go to that vacuum as well. and being suctioned out. Now that's the opposite end of Venus. And if we think of Venus being the second wife of Adam, and in this case Venus with the association of being Eve, what did she do? She kept her mouth closed. She did what what she was told. She stayed in the bottom. And also, there was negative and positive to that. She became very powerless, and she was responsible for the dude eating some apple. And whatever the case may be, all the blame was on her. And there's a disempowerment that happened with her that, man, I mean, she didn't get a good lot either. It kind of make you wonder, hey, maybe Lilith had it right, but, whatever the case may be. And then we have Juno. Juno is a different archetype now of what? Of the wife. Okay? So I would say in that case, Venus being Eve, which was the naive feminine, which was the maiden who doesn't really know. I mean, she's clueless. I mean, you just got born, or got made, whichever you see it. And, this person is telling you what, blah, blah, blah. And you just kind of like, I mean, you don't know any better. You just do what you're told because you thought that was the best way to go. And then we have Juno. Now, being the wife, you get a sense that there's a bit of maturity associated with somebody in relationship and a wife. And if I even go deeper into the different archetypes of Juno, we all know Juno, which is the wife of, and mythology that is, the wife of Jupiter, right? And that's the Roman version. Juno became Hera, right? Hera is the discontented wife, also the wife of Jupiter or Zeus. Now, Zeus and Jupiter, they are the same, except if you're referring to it in terms of the pantheon and stuff like that, then that would be Zeus. And if you're referring to Roman mythology, then that would be Jupiter. Anyway, so another thing that kind of came to me when I was meditating on it is the fact that so we also see, so there's a south node, and then we have Lilith, Venus, Juno in that or exact order. So you see the first wife or the dark feminine, and you see in the middle, you see the maiden, Venus being the maiden, being Eve, being the clueless, right? And then we have Juno, who then, okay, later on we realizing, oh shoot, I'm the wife, here, and man, there are some responsibilities, there are some limitations, there are some, there are things that I cannot do. I thought this was supposed to be protective, or, I'm supposed to get a sense of authority, or supposed to be somewhat equal here. We're shouldering the world, right? And actually, I did say Juno become Hera, but before Juno and now it's a little bit of mythology. So we have Lilith, who was first, and then we have Venus, of course, who was the maiden in that sense, archetypically. And then we have Juno, who's the wife. Juno later on becomes Ceres before become Hera, because Ceres is the mother, because the wife eventually gives birth, correct? And by the time Venus became Hera, the discontent wife, her job in mythology is to usher in children, not necessarily hers, just children in general coming into this world as a soul, ushering soul into the world. How the mythology goes. And whose children was she ushering at that time that made her discontented? That was the demigods of Zeus or / Jupiter, because of the unfaithfulness of the husband. So there is a discontentedness that Hera was. Now she can't, she has to allow passage to those souls coming in. But those are not her children. Those are not children that she kind of ordained or birthed or wanted to bring in. So there is, there's even that task in and of itself, has some resentment to it, right? Anyway, so I just wanted to give a little bit of the opposite side so that you understand, like, when having the south node there, you get a sense like, energetically, archetypally, the goddess is getting a reformation. The goddess is letting go of old angst, old angers, old pain, old stories of stuff that was experienced, endured, all the many ways she had to bend and navigate her world. And there is a letting go that is happening. And just like I've been saying that I'm inside the cocoon, what came to me is almost like the goddess is actually is shedding skin here. Okay, is getting a certain level of balancing that happens, where Lilith could maintain her authority without necessarily going completely, ape shit and bonkers and, creating, demons all over the place, where Venus could still maintain the softness of the, I would say, the docile feminine without completely subjugating herself into Adam's expectation and losing what it is to be a woman and losing her identity, where Juno as the wife is able to still feel respected without having the anguish and the disappointment from the masculine, from the many ways that the husband later on, brings through his own journey of becoming, because the original archetype of the masculine is Mars, and Mars is the youth of the zodiac, right? And which beg to differ that to question, well, if Mars is the first of the zodiac, and Pisces, which is the highest expression of the divine feminine, is the, when you are in the realm, if you are in the womb, if you are in the cosmic soup, then give birth to Aries, which is the first sign. But then after that, once Aries goes through the different circle, the different section of the 12 sign, also has to go back to Pisces at the end. But at that time, you would have had completion and mastery of what it is to be the masculine. And if you look on that side, is you have Aries, that is, the first one. The second masculine expression in the lineal chart, and that's my puppy, and that would be Leo. Okay, so from the knight, from Aries being the soldier who becomes a knight, who becomes a king, okay, in Leo, the journey continues. A new king, a young king is not a wise king. Okay, a young king still is, I'm collecting territory, I am still pillaging, I'm still raping, I'm still, just increasing my territory. Yeah, I'm gonna use some strategies or whatever. But later on, the older, the wise king could look back and not necessarily happy of the way he went about things, but at the same time, he didn't know any better. The masculine still needs to go through his journey of becoming and learning and becoming the highest expression, where it becomes the one that takes care of the garden. Okay, because the highest expression of Mars is the gardener, is the one that worked the land with wisdom and making sure it stays fertile. So there is a beautiful ending to all of this, but the masculine still has to go through the journey. Anyway, so while this conjunction with the South Node is happening, you see that, okay, so that's today on the September 5th. Day before all that happened becomes exact. We've been in this energy since the Virgo full moon, you guys. Okay, I mentioned it briefly, but I didn't want to get into it then because we were started to feel the first wave of that conjunction. But all that was baked in with that new moon, Virgo new moon that we just had a few days ago. If you have not seen that video, it's a good thing to go watch. Okay, it will help give some insight to build on that story that's playing out right now. yesterday, 9 September 4th, Mars stepped into Cancer. It's not a very comfortable spot for Mars to be. The soldier does not want to be in the kitchen. You know, it's almost like sending. It's like that's the Iron Chef. It's like sending. Yeah, it's the Iron Chef. It's like sending the samurai in the kitchen. Have you guys ever been to like Korean barbecue? And you see all this stuff, or Bini Hanas when people are flipping the knives and stuff like that. Yeah, it's entertaining and stuff like that. But do you feel safe in that kitchen? You're like, if he missed this is gonna land on my head. So there is a sense of anxiety with anyone, and also Mars being there because it's not comfortable there, right? It reminds me of Kindergarten Cop. It's an old movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger ended up being a teacher to a bunch of kindergartens to kids, and then him being a police officer. That is actually a perfect depiction of this situation. Now, not that he wouldn't do a good job, and he ended up doing this very well and have given some discipline. But he struggled because this is not his arena. This is not, the soldier wants to be at war with enemies, doesn't want to be playing around with naughty kids, And so because of that, it's almost like the feminine is like, all right, I'm just gonna go inside the cocoon here because there's some shit I need to let go of. There's some healing I have to do. I need to deconstruct myself and reconstruct myself once again so that I could be made new. So I could remake myself, because the feminine remake itself. Nobody else makes her. And she's going through that transformation on her own. Here's the kids, and you'll be in the kitchen, you get to feed them now. And then now you see the masculine saying, well, wait a minute, while she's over there, there's a sense of anxiety. It's like, okay, where is she? Is she coming back? Like, these kids are getting rowdy and everything. So you could see that there's a discomfort here. Anyway, so I'm going to stop this right here. I think I have to do different parts of this. So let's consider this part 1 and then just wait for the next one. All right, I'll continue.